My name is Corey Biazzo, and I'm a practicing American civil litigation attorney, and you are watching Executive Coup. In today's episode, we're going to discuss some of the latest updates in the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case. As you may recall from episode 3, Mr. Garcia is an individual from El Salvador who entered the U.S. illegally. However, he was subject to a 2019 immigration court judgment preventing his deportation due to an asylum claim that he successfully litigated against unsubstantiated allegations from a few members of law enforcement that he was a member of the infamous MS-13 gang. Notwithstanding the 2019 immigration court order that was in place, immigration enforcement officers apprehended Mr. Garcia, Maryland on March 12, 2025. Then on March 15, 2025, the government, without first affording Mr. Garcia with requisite procedural due process under the U.S. Constitution's Fifth Amendment, notice and an opportunity to be heard in court, and without first attempting to have the 2019 court order set aside by a court, then illegally removed Mr. Garcia to El Salvador's infamous CCOT prison. On April 4, 2025, Judge Paul Zinnes of the U.S. District Court for the District of Maryland found that Mr. Garcia's removal from the United States was unlawful and in violation of the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and a federal statute, specifically 8 United States Code, Section 1231. The court accordingly ordered the government to return Mr. Garcia to the United States no later than April 7, 2025, to restore Mr. Garcia's position prior to the illegal deportation so he could receive proper Fifth Amendment procedural due process in accordance with the U.S. Constitution and governing immigration statutes. The government appealed the order, which was affirmed by the U.S. 4th District Court of Appeals. The government then appealed the ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court, who affirmed the trial court's order on April 10, 2025, stating, quote, "The order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador." That was a 9-0 U.S. Supreme Court ruling. On April 17, 2025, conservative Reagan appointee Justice Harvey Wilkinson III of the U.S. 4th District Court of Appeals, in ruling on a denial to vacate the injunction, stated, quote, "The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. Further, it claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, that there is nothing that can be done. This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. The government asserts that Abrego Garcia is a terrorist and a member of MS-13. Perhaps, but perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process. If the government is confident of its position, it should be assured that position will prevail in proceedings to terminate the withholding of removal order. The Supreme Court's decision does not, however, allow the government to do essentially nothing. It requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. The executive possesses enormous powers to prosecute and to deport, but with powers come restraints. If today the executive claims the right to deport without due process and in disregard of court orders, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? Currently today is May 18, 2025, and the administration has not yet complied with the U.S. Supreme Court's 9-0 order to return Mr. Garcia. We're currently watching as Mr. Garcia's counsel attempts to conduct discovery to expose which officials in the Trump administration are behind the administration's current failure to abide by the court's order. The government is currently stymieing the discovery process by making extensive and vague invocations of a state secrets privilege to avoid divulging information regarding the government's effort or lack thereof to get Mr. Garcia on a quick 5-hour flight back from El Salvador where his case would then be restarted with all process owed to Mr. Garcia being afforded. Remember, this is not about Mr. Garcia, this is about due process and the rule of law. Keep following Executive Coup for further updates on this matter and others related to the apparent executive coup attempt that is unfolding in the U.S. federal government at the direction of President Donald J. Trump. Thank you.